Welcome to Time of Death. This video is for informational purposes and in no way meant to glorify or condone violence. In today's video, we'll be discussing the murder of Anthony Fernando Stubbs. Stubbs died on Tuesday, January 16, 2001, after being shot in the 3700 block of Chesapeake Avenue in the Baldwin Hills, Crenshaw neighborhood. Donald Henson and Dante Brown were subsequently arrested and charged with the murder. The following is the evidence at trial. On January 16, 2001, Hashim Keaton and victim Anthony Stubbs, a member of the Rollin Blvd, were walking on a sidewalk. A car slowed down as it approached, and the driver of the car shot at them 7 to 10 times with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. The victim, who was closer to the street, was hit 4 times, including once in the face. Keaton was hit in the leg. Police officers arrived 10 minutes after the shooting. An officer asked the victim who shot him, and the victim said they yelled West Boulevard as they shot me. 2 black guys in a small red compact car. Keaton similarly described the assailants as 2 black men in a red compact car. The victim died the next day. 2 days after the shooting, Baldwin Lopez, a member of the Black P-Stones, was leaving an apartment building when 2 black men approached him. One of the men said to Lopez, "Come here, fuck slobs." According to Lopez, a disrespectful term to members of his gang. Lopez started to run away. The men chased him, and Lopez heard 8 to 9 gunshots, none of which hit him. Lopez continued running down streets and through alleyways for 10 to 15 minutes, eventually stopping at a bus stop in front of a gas station. As the bus was arriving, a red car with 2 male occupants approached. One of the men got out of the car and started walking toward Lopez, but Lopez boarded the bus. Soon after Lopez's encounter with his assailants, police officers observed a red car that matched the description of the car involved in the shooting of Keaton and Stubbs. Defendant Brown was driving and Defendant Henson was in the passenger seat. When the police began following the car, it sped away, but after a few minutes it stopped. Defendant Henson got out of the car, ran to a nearby apartment complex with police officers in pursuit, and tried unsuccessfully to enter the complex through a locked gate. The officers detained Defendant Henson, found a loaded 9mm semi-automatic handgun in his pocket, and arrested him. Meanwhile, Defendant Brown drove the car away, parked, and attempted to flee into a market, but officers detained and arrested him. Later that day, a detective visited Keaton in the hospital where he was recovering from his gunshot wound. A detective showed Keaton 2 photographic lineups, one containing a photograph of Defendant Brown and the other of Defendant Henson. Keaton told the officer that Defendant Brown looked like the driver of the red compact car and the person who shot him. Keaton did not identify Defendant Henson. The detective also showed Keaton a photograph of the red car Defendants Brown and Henson were in immediately before officers arrested them. Keaton stated he was positive the car was the same car involved in the shooting. Baldwin Lopez reported his attack to police officers. Officers showed Lopez a photographic lineup containing a photograph of Defendant Brown, and Lopez stated that Brown looked like the guy who shot at him. The people charged Defendants Brown and Henson with the murder of Stubbs and the attempted murder of Keaton. Defendant Brown's girlfriend at the time of the shootings testified for the people at trial. The girlfriend owned the red car Defendant Brown and Henson were in the day of their arrest. She also lived in the apartment complex where Defendant Henson was attempting to enter when officers arrested him. Detectives searched the girlfriend's home and recovered 6 rounds of 9mm ammunition from a drawer. She testified that the ammunition belonged to Defendant Henson and that on a previous occasion, she had seen Defendant Henson load ammunition into his handgun. A firearms examiner testified that he had compared the handgun in Defendant Henson's possession to the shell casings recovered from the location where victims Stubbs and Keaton were shot, and that the handgun had discharged those casings. Officer Chris Luna of the LAPD testified as the gang expert for the prosecution. According to Officer Luna, the West Boulevard Crips were rivals to both the Rollin Blvd and the Black P-Stones. Officer Luna testified that in his opinion, the West Boulevard Crips would benefit from the drive-by shooting of Stubbs and Keaton. Following the trial, the jury found Defendants Brown and Henson guilty of first-degree murder and attempted murder. The jury also found true the gun and gang allegations. The people also charged Brown and Henson with the attempted murder of Lopez, but the jury acquitted them on that charge. The court sentenced both Brown and Henson to prison terms of 75 years to life plus life terms. Anthony Fernando Stubbs was 19 years old at the time of death.